There are many reasons why Lag Baomer is marked on the Jewish calendar as a very special day. The first reason is that the 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva who were dying because of the lack of Avas Yisrael they had stopped on Lag Baomer. The plague, the punishment, stopped. Another reason is that Lag Baomer, the 33rd day of the Omer, is also the yahrzeit, the anniversary of the passing of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, one of the greatest, if not the greatest Tana and Rabbi to walk the face of the earth. Because in addition to being one of the great scholars and Talmidei Chachamim in the Mishnah, he also composed the Zayar, which is one of the foundational Kabbalah Sfarim. And on the day that he passed away, he instructed that his day not be filled with mourning and sorrow, but with joy and happiness. And therefore, Lag Baomer on the Jewish calendar is a very special, happy, fun, exciting day. Many people start shaving their beards from Lag Baomer and on. A lot of the restrictions from Sfiras Omer stop by Lag Baomer, according to some opinions. But nobody's really thought to think that the two reasons we celebrate Lag Baomer are quite contradictory. On the one hand, we celebrate the stopping of death from Rabbi Akiva's students, and then we commemorate the death of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. All things aside, those are two opposite things. We're celebrating that Rabbi Akiva's students, those left, which were 5 of them, stopped dying. And on the other hand, we celebrate or we commemorate one of the 5 students who were alive. He was one of the 5 out of 24,000 to survive. We commemorate his passing. So what really are we celebrating on Lag Baomer? Explains the Rebbe that we first need to understand why Rabbi Akiva's students started to die in the first place. Because it really doesn't make sense that the person whose life motto, his number one line, V'ahavta l'reacha kamecha zeh klal gadol b'Torah, Rabbi Akiva's number one line was that the Torah's commandment to love your fellow Jew is the big one in the Torah. It is a big rule. But yet 24,000 minus 5 of his students died for not having Avos Yisrael. How could they even call themselves students if that's why they died? But explains the Rebbe, in a sense, their Avos Yisrael was so great that it completely fell apart. Each of the 24,000 of Rabbi Akiva's students all had their own path in serving Hashem, their own way, their own ideology, and therefore when they saw another one of their friends taking a different path, they went a little bit too far to try to get him to join his. And when he didn't want to join his, it escalated into force. And at that point, their whole Avos Yisrael fell apart. They took Rabbi Akiva's number one line and they messed it over a little bit. But the 5 students who didn't got it right. That Avos Yisrael is loving a fellow Jew for who he is as a Jew, not for which nusach he davens, not for what haircut he has, just for the fact that he's a Jew. And when it comes to a tzaddik, his life is not just brought out in the 120 years he was allotted in this world. His life is brought out after he passes away. That is when you see the impact, the legacy, and the lasting impression he has on the generations to come. And therefore, the day that Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, one of the 5 students who survived, who learned Avos Yisrael and did it the right way, his passing is on that day. His passing is on the day that represents the perseverance of correct Avos Yisrael. And it affects Reb Shimon more than the other 4 Tanaim who also survived. Because Reb Shimon was famously known for staying in the cave for 13 years, and when he came out, anything his son would burn up with his eyes because he was so secluded from the outside world, he would go and heal. He would go and look at a Jew and go, I know you're imperfect, but that's what makes you perfect as a Yid. And that's why I love you, that's why I care for you, and that is why I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure you go on your right path. And that is something we all need to learn from and all need to take from Lag Baomer. That Avos Yisrael should not be over-exercised to forcing someone into your way. Avos Yisrael is loving a fellow Jew because he's a Jew, no matter what circumstance he's in. Because it is that attitude that will ultimately bring the coming Mashiach speedily in our days. Wishing you a wonderful Shabbos.